There we go. Well, good afternoon, ladies and gentlemen. Welcome to the PhanTV Preview Show. I'm Dan, and I'm joined by a very special guest this afternoon, Phil Smith. Phil, welcome.
Hi, I'm not sure I'm a special guest, but Phantom's live stream commentator for however long, previous chairman of the supporters club, and started all this media nonsense many years ago with writing about Phantoms before social media was quite in the way that it is now.
Absolutely. Well, welcome aboard, Phil. But for those of you watching, coming up today, we've got some news from around the league, a look at some of the Phantoms games. We'll have a look at the DOPS and discipline updates for this week. We'll have a look at our home game tonight against the Bristol Pitbulls, and maybe look at some of the offers from around the club. However, as you can see, our fancy new graphic on the screen at the moment. Before we get into this, make sure you hit like and subscribe. Click the notification bell so you can enjoy the other PhanTV content that we put out. Things like our post-game interviews, our match highlights, and the preview show that you're watching now. So let's go over and we'll have the news. So starting quickly with the discipline for the last few games. Starting with Sunday last week, Jonathan Yanstis, he was originally given a game for fighting. That's been downgraded to 2 individual 2-minute minors for roughing. I'll read the review on this one because it is actually a little bit interesting. The severity of the player's actions in the incident did not meet the requirements for the penalty as called. As such, the call has been downgraded to 2 minor penalties for roughing, 1 for each instance. For persisting in a course of conduct for which they were previously assessed a minor penalty, the player is assessed a misconduct penalty under Rule 75.4. The player receives 2 personal penalty points and is free to play subject to accumulated penalty points. He's currently set on 13, so 1 more disciplinary like that, and he picks up a 2-game ban. The game review panel does also say previous version of the announcement incorrectly declared this to be a double minor for roughing, whereas in fact it was 2 separate. So yeah, credit where it's due. They're happy to hold their hands up on that one. Cam Huff, unsportsmanlike conduct penalty, picked up at the same time. That's been upheld. He receives 2 personal penalty points. The team don't receive any, which is amusing. And on Rule 75 for unsportsmanlike conduct, Matt Bissonnette also managed to pick up 2 points for unsportsmanlike conduct with just 18 seconds left to go in their game. That's been upheld, so he has 2 points as well. Midweek, we have 3 instances that were sent. Another abuse of an official, this time David Phillips for the Steel Dogs, picks up 2 points. And then Kieran Brown of the Leeds Knights, and then Josh Hodgkinson of the Hull Seahawks, they each pick up a point for fighting. But in terms of DOPS and discipline panel, Matt Thompson and Dave Cloutman actually got a week off this week, which is nice for them. Phil?
Yeah, although I still don't think that Cam Huff needed a misconduct, but perhaps getting him out of there was more important.
Yeah, I think we'll agree. We can talk about that a bit later, but I think I agree with you on that one.
So if we start to just think about some league news now, a big week really, I think, in the National Division. We've got ourselves, Phantoms, Leeds, Sheffield and Swindon all qualified for the playoffs. Swindon, I mean, they seemed a week or so ago to have a little bit of a wobble, but I think it would need something catastrophic now to stop Aaron Nell getting the league title in his last year playing. and they've been outstanding this year. So well done to the Wildcats so far. The stats that we've got suggest that they need 3 more regulation wins to secure the league title, and I think they play us twice. Is that right, Dan? I think
I believe it is. Yeah,
Swindon have
their schedule
been
is.
got us a couple of times. Um,
Yeah,
they've got Hull today, and Hull have been lights out now for about 6 weeks. So that'll be an interesting game. But Swindon need then not to worry about unduly whatever the result tonight. I still think they're going to be league champions. Um, Sheffield, I mean they've had their rocky patch, but
yeah.
I think they're going to be set fair. And whatever we think about whether Sheffield should have won the league with the resources at their disposal, I wouldn't want to be playing Sheffield too many times in playoff hockey. There's the league table, guys. The asterisks denote the teams that have been that are qualified for the playoffs, and the playoffs are going to be an interesting one. We can talk about those groupings later, but we're just concentrating on the league this week. But yeah, down to the Seahawks qualified, and then we'll have the battle that's going to prevail over. I'm going to say 8th, but I'm sure that the teams above 8th think that they've qualified already, and I suspect that most viewers on the live stream currently will agree with that. But Dan, Romford set fair, do you think?
I think they've got a pretty good chance. I don't see Basingstoke catching them now. Basingstoke have had some good results. They've played well, but I think it's too little too late. I think the mismatched season start for them has hurt them badly. Yeah, if anyone out there has got any views, please feel free, chip in, drop a note in the comments, and obviously if it's family friendly, we'll read it out to you.
Absolutely. I mean, when I look at the league table, I think Phantoms, who, by the way, Phantoms and Seahawks both have a game in hand over Leeds, but Leeds are just a super, they're a super side to watch. They're resilient. They're gonna be pushing those places. And having interviewed Phantoms players over any number of years, I think everyone wants to win their games. Everyone wants to win every game. There's no kind of thinking, well, we better finish 3rd or we better finish 4th. It's I think people are going to go out and want to win games. I think that if we can get the league table back on just for a moment, if that's going to be possible, then if we just have a look at the league table, then there is a battle. The team's currently 3rd, 4th, and 5th, looking for those places. I suspect that the Tigers are a little bit behind now, given the number of games left, but not beyond the Tigers. I think they've been from my perspective, they've been a bit of a surprise package this year. I think they've done well and could do well going into playoffs. The thing that stands out in all of that, two observations to make before we go on from the league table. One is the Raiders are 5 points ahead of the Sharks, and the Sharks have had some decent results recently. But at this stage, you'd probably put your money on the Raiders making it. And obviously, we've talked about it before, and we've talked about it on this show before. But the Lightning in 7th. The roster that's there is tremendous, and obviously the news of the week, other than thinking about playoff positioning, is the head coach Tim Wallace and Joe Wilson have left the club. Lewis Christie getting and such a name interwoven with the history of MKL over the last 10 years or so, But Lewis Christie taking the helm, and of course a result last night for our friends from down the road. Keep an eye on MKL. I think they could move up in the league table, and I think they're going to be a real handful in the playoffs. I absolutely think.
No, I agree with you. I mean, they took Telford last night 8-2. Telford are not an easy team to beat. And to put 8 past them was quite an achievement.
Yeah, I think underestimate MKL at your peril. I mean, Phantoms and MKL have a great rivalry. I love it. that I've said on our live commentary games when we've played MKL that the years they had in the Elite League would have been maybe they would have been fab for the Lightning, but certainly our league and our rivalry was much less for them not being there, and
No,
they
great.
fill they get great attendances, fill our barn, atmosphere is great, and I just think that they are. Just keep an eye on them. Everyone's going to be talking Swindon. Everyone's going to be talking Sheffield. Everyone's going to be talking Leeds. Maybe one or two of the other teams that are going to go under the radar are teams like MKL, teams like the Phantoms, and another one to watch. Keep your eye on Hull.
Yeah, their new netminder. I think you mentioned it before we came on air.
Yeah,
7 wins out of 8 games. He's currently sat top
I
of the
think
league
so. Yeah,
percentage.
he's top of the save percentage for the league, and Sam Gospel and our own Hayden Levine is third, but Sam Gospel and Levine have played the season, and we know that Lavi's faced more shots and had more time on the ice than any other netminder. So they're there. Quite whether it's fair to say that the new netminder at Hull is. Should he's played 8 games, but I do think that it's 7 wins in 8. His goals against is a fag paper above 2, so I absolutely think that he could lead them, and maybe is one of the reasons why they are resurgent under Matty Davis. Great stuff from Hull again, a club that the big support, big hockey town, and they're doing well. They're on a roll, and the way that the playoff groups might fall, of course, is an interesting one, because when we look at the standings in the league and the playoffs are going to be 1, 4, 5, 8, for example. If the Phantoms finish in fourth, they'll have Hull and they'll have Romford, and I guess we'll talk about those in a moment or two.
Yeah, I mean, what could also have an impact on that is that Hull are only 1 point behind us, yet we face Hull twice over the remaining games this season.
Yeah. So if we just guys watching at home, if you've got anything to stick us a question, stick us a comment. You might be thinking about where the Phantoms are going to finish. It's fluctuated over the last week. I think we were talking about the fact that the Phantoms at one point were third. Fourth has been our position for quite a while, but the Seahawks did overtake the Phantoms last week, and the Phantoms have regained fourth. Is it important that does it matter to us as fans whether we're in Group 1 or Group 2 or A or B, whatever they're going to be called this year? But it is going to be first, fourth, fifth, and eighth again, second, third, and then second, third, sixth, and seventh. Does it matter? I think we said on our media gantry last week that both groups look pretty horrible. Let us know what you think. We can return to those if there's any comments.
Yeah.
A couple of just Phantoms news, if you like. And the games, I think the most, something that we really need to draw attention to is the Cup final first leg for the Phantoms 2 last night against what has been the real rival for Nathan Pollard's outfit over the last couple of years. So Nathan and the Phantoms 2 need to be congratulated. The first part of the job is over the line. They beat the Guildford Phoenix 7-3 last night, and the records of these two teams are really so similar. 17 wins for the Phantoms, 16 for the Phoenix, 121 goals for the Phantoms, 122 for Guildford, and last night some goals from Phantoms new and old, and Louis Kinniston got 2. AJ Herring got 2, Connor Pollard got 2, and Parnell got 1, leading, and then I think Guildford scored some goals to narrow the margin. You'd like to think a four goal advantage would be healthy going into the second leg, but that Phantom side under Nathan did really well last year, lifting silverware, and it looks like they've got. What do people say? What's the cliche? One hand on the trophy, but lots of work to do going down to Guildford, and we don't want to tempt fate, but for sure, congratulations to the twos, and we look forward to seeing how they fare down in Guildford. For the senior team, We've already on the show talked about the game against Telford, but the last week or so has brought 3 games, a 4-1 victory against the Sharks. A really interesting one for me. The big attendance. I mean, the home games that we've had have had increasing attendances. Felt a bit flat in the rink following the game against Leeds the previous week, but the Phantoms got the job done. You've already referred to the way the game finished with the answers from the Sharks and Cam Huff getting the penalties late on. And I think one of the things that will be the most significant thing that comes out of that game is an injury to Callum Douglas. And, we wish Callum all the very best in his recovery. Hopefully we'll see him before the end of the year. But, he took a bang in that game. Phantoms then lost to the Raiders. We've split the season with them. It's 3-3 with the regulation season games. A 5-2 victory. Short bench Phantoms, but that's the tail of the tape. The Phantoms are missing 3 senior core D. They're missing Douglas. They're missing Scott Robson. Missing Brad Bowring. Those guys have been the core of our D, along with Tom Norton and Billy Thorpe, the guys who step up. And I know I interviewed Luke Ferrara last weekend, and Luke said, he does the interviews, and every time we say the guys stand up, but a bit short on D, which makes the result in Bristol last night so impressive. So Bristol, driving to try and get points to end the season well. I mean, it's almost a basketball score, isn't it? 6-7, and the Phantoms don't. The Phantoms secure it with a Luke Ferrara hat trick and a goal in OT. So just 14 seconds in, I think, and Luke's been absolutely on fire. It's his second hat trick within a couple of games, and just unreal what Ferrara, Cam Huff, and Yanni Larkinen and Larkinen. I think he's starting to get the plaudits, but during the course of the year, he's possibly not had the recognition more widely than he deserves. But the points the guys put up alongside Cam Huff, alongside Luke Ferrara, have been just unreal. They've been outstanding, and the result last night in Bristol against a tenacious Pitbulls side, and Alice Padalecki will know the Phantoms well. It was such a good result. In a sense, both sides will be happy with that, with a point for Bristol perhaps, and the Phantoms getting it over the line. But we go again tonight, don't we? We've got the Bristol Pitbulls again tonight, and again it'll be another one of those games where we've got players stepping up and joining the first team.
Yeah, and I think that's definitely worth bearing in mind. I mean, it's been a very, very much a character situation. And in terms of characters, we've had guys like Joe Gretton stepping back into defence as a forward. So
I think Joe's an interesting guy, isn't he? He's a fan favourite and deservedly so. I think in previous seasons he's been seen as a utility player and could be a forward or could be in D, but he's done really well. I've got a lot of time for what Joe's done this year.
Yeah, same for Zane McKenzie as well. He's theoretically another utility player. When we've had him back from the Blaze, he spent probably 3/4 of his games as a defenceman, just comfortably dropping in. And just like Joe, he doesn't look out of place. He hasn't looked like someone who's trying to be a D-man. He's just been a D-man.
I think Zane's a terrific asset for the Phantoms, and I know that he wants to do his very best to get his elite league career, kind of solidified at Coventry, and a tip of the hat to him. He's a thoroughly decent guy, and always plays for the name on the front of the shirt rather than the name on the back. I've got an awful lot of time for, I think we've got a really nice, a really good mix of age and experience within our roster. I mean, it's typical of the Phantoms to need to call up young guys. We're not a big budget side, but we've called up some guys this year who've impressed. People like Preston Toombs, people like AJ Herring, Flynn Massey, and
Yeah,
there will be others. And I've not just included Louis Kinniston in that. He's still a young guy, but he's got a number of games under his belt, and I think
yeah,
they deserve credit. They're playing in a senior hockey league against some very experienced players, and sometimes we forget, and perhaps fans forget, that when you're coming up against a Davy Phillips, Jonathan Phillips, Jason Hewitt, Josh Batch, Ben O'Connor.
yeah,
These guys have, they've done it. They are. We never learn what they've forgotten. They know it,
yeah,
and they've been hugely impressive. I think that our guys have done really well, and we just need a bit of momentum going into the remaining fixtures. Obviously, we're talking about Bristol tonight, and Phantoms with an
yeah,
opportunity to make it a 4-point weekend, which would be fantastic.
yeah,
And then we've got some tough games. Not they're all tough, hey, but they're all tough. But a couple of
mm,
games against Hull, I think we've mentioned.
yeah,
We've got a game against Telford, Swindon,
yeah.
an away
Two
game on the
against
15th
Swindon, we've got Milton
against MKL.
Keynes. Yeah, yeah, we've got two against Swindon, one against Milton Keynes. We've also got our last game of the season up in North Yorkshire playing the Leeds Knights. We don't have an easy
Yeah.
run to the end of the season at all.
No.
So these are the home. These are the fixtures on the screen now. I mean, obviously tonight's game, um, yeah, with a full bench, you'd say that was almost a formality, but not with Paddy on the ice. He knows our plays well. He's been in these systems for long enough.
So we've just
I
got a
think,
question in the chat box, Dan. Do we have any score predictions for tonight? Notoriously, we're not great at making predictions, but if the teams are as short benched both sides as they were last night, I
yeah,
think the Phantoms have the capacity to bring home the win. I would be turning up in the rink tonight. Looking at a team that's trying to solidify fourth, maybe make third, and playing a team that's busting a gut to try and get the points towards the end of the season to see what can happen. I would like to think that Phantoms could win. I'm going to say this. I would always say this with predictions. Absolutely not taking anything for granted. Bristol have got the capacity to do a job on us. The split in the
yeah,
season is 2-2. I think there's only one game not gone to overtime or shootout in those four games. This is the fifth between the sides, and the Phantoms did get a 6-2 victory at home in November. Yeah. So is it Emma that's it's messages?
yeah.
I would say, yeah, I'd like to think the Phantoms could get a win, but hey, what do I know? I was hopeful the Phantoms would get a result against Romford and on Wednesday, and we didn't do that.
Yeah. Well, tell you what, let's have a look at the game tonight then. The game preview. So, just doing a quick rundown of what we have available, or sorry, what it is tonight. So, Phantoms currently fourth, Bristol currently 10th. So far, it is the Phantoms have won 3 of the 4 games that have been played so far. Sorry, correction. No, you're right, Phil. It's 2-2. I do.
Yeah, yeah.
Yeah, I got that one wrong. So yeah, both the games that Pitbulls have won have actually been in the shootout, which is curious. So I'm hoping for a regulation win tonight, if I'm honest. Bristol have only won 1 in their last 5 games. Phantoms picked up 2 regulation wins and an overtime win. That was last night. Now, in terms of starting netminders, we've been thrown a bit of a surprise this week. Apparently, Tommy Napier will not be playing tonight, so the likely netminder for Bristol will be Harry Thomas. Now, he has played 6 games for the Pitbulls so far, mostly while Napier was suspended. In terms of stats, his save percentage is 84.13 based on 6 games. He's currently sat 20th in the league. Levine, on the other hand, 91.39 following last night's games. Goals against, and this is probably a bit more telling. Harry Thomas, 6.58, whereas Levine sat 3.92. But given that Levine is facing somewhere in the region of 45 to 46 shots a game on average, then conceding 3.92 on a point on a 91 save percentage is actually quite reasonable. If we can win in regulation tonight, that will put us equal on points to Leeds and could actually put us into third, which would be interesting.
Yeah, I mean, very. I mean, I think if you look at the standings and when I look at the league table, if we get a regulation win tonight, it will be our 17th of the season. The Leeds Knights have had 26. They're in the position there above us in third. In fifth, the Hull Seahawks, who've had 22 regulation wins. I have never known a season like it. The Phantoms have 8 regulation. Sorry, I'm going to say that again. 16 regulation wins, 8 overtime or shootout victories, 8 overtime or shootout defeats. 16 games going over 60 minutes, just unbelievable. You can point to the resilience of the teams. There's been an awful lot of those games where we've dug out the equaliser late on. Obviously, there's been some that we've conceded late that it's gone into overtime. But I just think that it is testament to the Phantom side, and certainly early in the season, the Phantoms were racking up the shootout wins. We've had a rockier record on that subsequently, but yeah, what a season! When you look at that, the 8 overtime wins on there, then you just think, oh goodness me, that's just made such a difference to the league position, because obviously if we'd have dropped those games, then we drop our points, and you'd still be hopeful to make the playoffs, but it would be much more difficult to do so.
Yeah, just having a quick look at the table, I think we actually have more overtime wins than any other team.
Yeah.
Unfortunately, we've also got more. We've got the second highest number of losses in overtime as well. But at the same time, we're the only team with 8 overtime wins. The next closest is Bristol on 7. So
Yeah.
I think that could be interesting for tonight. In terms of tonight, Phil,
I'd stick your mortgage on us. If it goes to overtime, I'm putting your mortgage on it, Dan. If we start out like we did last night, and I was just looking at the stats last night before I kind of turned in, but Yanni got 5 points last night, a goal and 4 assists, and him, Cam, and Luke. I said it earlier on, but just unreal. Is there a more potent front three in the league? Well, the stats suggest not.
No, not at all. I think I did a quick count up earlier, and between the three of them, they have 260 points this season. It's insane.
Unreal.
But
yeah,
I love it. They're playing for us, so I'm not going to complain in the slightest. Going back to Emma's question, score prediction tonight, I think given the change in netminder, I think we are going to be looking at a fairly high-scoring game. I would probably go as high as something like 7-4 tonight. Paddy being back on the ice and Paddy knowing our rink as well as he does will know what to expect, and I think he will work with Jake Bricknell very well. So,
without any shadow of a doubt. Again, Phantom's legend, shirt retired or hoisted on the rafters. What a guy! What a player for the Phantoms. Absolutely. In the modern in the Phantoms era, and Slava era. Just what a player Alice Padlek is. He deserves every credit. He was for the Phantoms absolutely unreal.
Yeah. Now, one question has been posed in our chat. Sorry, just quickly. And that was, I wonder if any other line in the league has put up more points collectively. I think probably the only line I can think of that would have come close would have been Nell, Malasinski and Hoog at Swindon.
Yeah.
And that really was, Jonas Hoog was incredible. And you put him with those two, I'm surprised they didn't win more than they did.
And let's not forget the quality in Leeds over the last couple of years. League titles, Kieran Brown, just an unreal player, topping the scoring charts and getting himself in the, getting the hands on the silverware, but also in the teams of the year, just terrific.
Yeah. Is this going to be the first year for like 3 years that Leeds have not won the title?
Yeah, they've won it 3 years in a row.
Mm. But there's still going to
And the
be a
question,
Nell. There's still going to be a Nell lifting the cup, though.
well, I don't, I've got a lot of time for Swindon. And I think
Yeah.
whenever Aaron is interviewed, he wears his heart on his sleeve. I think he tells it as it is. He faces up, and
Yeah.
he's a really honest guy. And knowing a few of the guys on the media team, I think they would say that that's typical of what he's like. I think they've got a great outfit. If there's lots to like, if you're a Swindon fan, lots to like on the ice, and I'm sure it's a great team to support. Aaron does well in interviews, wears his heart on his sleeve, and I've got a lot of time for them, and they're going to win the league. I think it's good for the league that it's a different team.
Yeah, very much so. We talk about Swindon being a good outfit. I remember a couple of years ago, I had a moment to have a chat with Eddie Bebris, who had just
Yeah.
re-signed there again, and we were talking about what it was like to be at Swindon. He was saying that the guys are really well looked after on the ice and off. So they've got a really good core. They've got a really good locker room, really good attitude around the club, and I think that's what makes a side like this so effective. We've seen it when teams play for each other.
Well, I remember commentating on a game earlier in the season where Glenn Billing was probably on the third line, and it
Yeah,
just is testament to the strength in depth. Great, yeah. They're going to be league champions, I suspect, and I've said look out for Hull and look out for MKL. They're going to be a threat in the playoffs, and we can perhaps return to that on another show, because as the weeks go, it's 4 weekends after this one. I think is the end of the
yeah,
regulation season.
yeah. What, I'm going to put my heart. I'm going to put money down now. Hull Swindon playoff final, and it's going to be Battle of the Netminders. Rennie Marr versus Alex Santeri.
Right. Okay. You're entitled. You're entitled to your view.
Yeah. So Alex Santeri Heiskanen versus Rennie Marr. I think that's what it's going to be. Sorry, guys.
Right. Well, on that note, I think we're probably going to need to bring our show to a conclusion.
Yeah. Okay. So let's just quickly do a run through. We've got a few shameless plugs to do, which I'll run through quickly. So shut off the back tonight is Tom Norton, and also Supporters Club playoff warm-up jersey. We'll find out who that is a bit later on. You can get your tickets for the Shut Off the Back Supporters Club jersey and 50/50 from the Supporters Club table by the shop. Post-game signings tonight, Nick Martin, Flynn Massey and Billy Thorpe. And then also you've got Chuckaduck Pride. Chuckaduck will be happening in the second period break. And we have some more player colouring books released. Tom Norton, Corey McEwen, Barnabas Sari, Billy Thorpe, Dylan Lawrence, Jumping Joe Gretton and Brad Bowering have all been released, so you can pick those up from the shop tonight. Don't forget our end of season awards due. I mean, Phil's going to be there getting his Joe Gretton colouring book, obviously.
Getting it signed.
Of course. So, end of season awards due. Tickets for that are available from the shop as well. It's Thursday, 2nd of April at Holiday Inn, Peterborough West. That's the one by Thorpewood. It is over 16s only. It's £25 a person, and that will include food and entertainment, so other celebrations. And probably the last one for the night. New season tickets will be being released, or news about the new season tickets will be being released in the next couple of weeks. So keep your eye out on gophantoms.co.uk for that information. So that brings us nicely to the end of the show. Phil, thank you very much for joining us this afternoon.
Thank you very much. Thanks for having me, Dan.
No, not a problem at all. So yeah, if there's Any questions? Apparently, there's something in one of the other songs. Yes, actually, there's two little things. Congratulations to Callum and Harriet on the birth of their daughter. So, unfortunately, Callum Douglas not able to be on the ice at the moment, but little baby Douglas has come along. And Phil, we have some congratulations for you as well. So, for those who want to know, Phil has now reached 250 games commentating for the Phantoms. A bit of an Iron Man streak. Obviously, he won't be there tonight, but if you do see him in the next week or two, don't forget to give him a little fist bump. So congratulations when you see him around the rink.
Thank you very much. It seems an awful long time ago since we started. I'm not sure whether we were the first team to do the live streams. I know that highlights had already been done, but certainly there was a feeling, were live streams going to take away revenue from the gates? Were people going to stay at home and watch the live stream and not turn out to our idiosyncratic barn? But I think it's been a great way for fans who can't make the game or want to catch highlights to engage with the fixtures. It's been a good one, and you can't help but be enthusiastic watching hockey and watching the Phantoms on a Sunday night.
Absolutely. And on that note, if you can't get to the game tonight in the rink, don't forget, go on www.gophantoms.co.uk. You can pick up your tickets for the live stream there. Tonight will be presented by Alan. He'll be flying solo, but it'll be just as good anyway. So feel free to join us on there if you can't be at the game. And don't forget, hit like, subscribe, hit the notification bell so we can bombard you with our obviously high quality content. So our highlights, post-game interviews, this show, and we'll go from there. So that's it for us. Thank you very much, Phil, and we'll see you at the game later on.
Thanks for having me. See you soon, guys. Okay, guys.